Hello everyone, and welcome back to Cody Tarot. I'm your tarot reader, Cody. So for today's pick a card, we are going to be doing what your future spouse's values are. What do they value? What's important to them? I'm just going to leave it at that. Whatever comes through in the cards is going to come through in the cards. And yeah, let's get into the reading. Let's get in with the pile selections. We have the first pile is Smoky Elestial Quartz, or otherwise known as Alligator Quartz. We'll just call it Alligator Quartz for this purpose of this reading. Then we have our Bruschite, kind of cool yellowish stone for Bruschite Group 2. And then this rough piece of Ocean Jasper, that's for Group 3. And then for Group 4, this piece of Aquamarine, it's for Group 4. And last, for Group 5, we have Stillbite. So that's for Group 5. So take all the time you need to pick your pile, or pick your crystal, I should say. Pause the video here if you need to. And after the pause, we'll get on starting with group number 1, the Smoky Elestial. All right, let's start the reading with Group 1, the Smoky Elestial. Or the Alligator Quartz. That's what we're calling it, the Alligator Quartz. Hey, Group 1, this is if you picked the Smoky Elestial Quartz, or otherwise known as the Alligator Quartz. All right, so let's get into your reading. I pre-drew all the oracle cards, as I normally do, and I'm going to shuffle the tarot cards on camera. So I'm going to use my old school manga deck. Let's see. I have had this. This is the oldest tarot deck that I own. Okay. We have one more. Perfect. Okay, let's get into your reading. Some days, I don't know if you guys know this about me, but I will pause before doing the reading. I'll take a moment. I cut it out. I cut this part out of the readings usually, but I pause. I take a moment to look over the whole thing holistically, the whole thing is a picture. I start to see how things connect and stuff. And then I go into the reading. But today I feel drawn to just kind of not dig into it too deeply and just start talking about everything as it is coming up. So yeah, let's get into it. So we have some kind of themes in your spouse's life that were really important to them. So first of all, with the Empress, your spouse's, it almost is like your spouse had a parental figure with some strong feminine energy, who was also a very hard worker, who put in a lot of effort to achieve a lot in life, and really accomplished everything by their own ability to do battle with the world, so to speak. This Empress in particular has armor around her, and this deck switches the gender. So this Empress is technically the Emperor, right? And so it's almost like they had a little bit of both. They were probably they probably had a developed feminine and masculine balance in their personalities. So they kind of had a tough way of approaching the world, but they had an inner core of femininity. And this was one of their parental figures, and that was a big influence on their life. And this creates the first, over here with effort, this card with 13. And this also breaks down to 4. Then that's kind of reminding me of stability and kind of a home environment and stuff. Just like the Emperor breaks down into 4. And the Empress breaks down to 3, but the Emperor breaks down into 4. So it's showing that this person provided a lot of structure, just like the Emperor card tends to do. It's provides a lot of structure for them. This person put in a lot of effort to make the family very happy. So that's become one of their values as they've grown up. With the 10 of Chalices, they had a very happy family life growing up, or at least they thought they did. They viewed their family life with rose-colored lenses, and they very much value a happy home life. This is not necessarily the 10 of Pentacles, which can indicate ancestors, culture, things that are just not just the immediate family, but things beyond the immediate family, where the 10 of Chalices is more like just the immediate family, like the immediate family unit. It's almost like with their family, it's going to be us against the world, or kind of like they want their family to be kind of like their perfect, how do I put this? Like they want their family to be their closest intimate friends. They want their spouse and their children to be the closest ones in their lives. Like intimacy is really important to this person. And they want that close, intimate connections with the people that are close to them in their lives, that kind of become close to them. For this person, one of their values, because of closeness is one of their values, they would be heartbroken if one of their children or their spouse kind of got into a fight with them. I feel like your future spouse might struggle with, particularly when, if you guys do have children, you may not choose to have children, but they might struggle if someone's particularly rebellious in the household, whether that be like a spouse, a child, a pet, even if you like, this is probably not, a lot of you don't like to talk about how you don't want to live with your friends and stuff like that. But even if you lived with like a roommate and your spouse had to come over and you were like sharing an apartment with someone else and they wanted that person to be in the close family unit, or whatever kind of relationship situation you have, maybe you like have something like a polyamorous type thing, whatever it is, with whoever's closest to them, their close, immediate inner circle, they want to have happy, harmonious relationships. And if someone does not provide that in their immediate circle, or upsets the apple cart, so to say, like they kind of like cause drama, basically, they'll want to correct it as soon as possible, but I feel like they struggle to know how. It's something that's like elusive to them. Like they want their close family unit, their closest friends, anyone who comes into their sort of bubble or sphere, they want everyone to kind of have this like joyous attitude, this kind of positivity, this kind of sense of unity, that it's like them against the world, That's where they thrive best. Your future spouse thrives best as a leader, because they absorb so much of this leadership energy from I want to say this person was their mother, but it could have been their father, the father that was like tough on the outside, but a softy on the inside. But I'm also seeing a woman who has like a tough exterior and a soft inside as well. Whatever parent figure it was, they emulate them, like, they look up to them a lot, right? And they really want to lead their family very similarly to how how they felt like they grew up with their family. They're very much admire how the role their parents played in their lives, and they kind of want to play that role in their family's lives. I see this person has learned a lot, because in their life with relationship change over here, this is a value of theirs, and it's a value of theirs it's not necessarily something that kind of was a value that came easy. It's more of like an experience that they had, because I'm seeing here with the Hermit and the Tower reversed, they got into a lot of almost near disastrous situations that kind of forced them into isolation at particular points in their life, right? And this all had to do with relationships kind of in their life. And the thing is, because of this, I'm seeing this mostly with like friends and acquaintances, not necessarily their family unit, because I see they were very close to their parents, but they really struggled with the fact that relationships change, that people change, people grow, people change, and they develop into new people, and relationships kind of fade apart or come back together. And they really struggled with this when they were very young, and they kind of had to learn this lesson the hard way. They had a few near disastrous consequences by sticking to the fact that like they wanted to make these relationships work at all cost. There were even some relationships with the Tower in reversed here that could have been a little riskier relationships. I'm just going to say that they could have been in like maybe like some unhealthy relationships or something like that, because they were holding on too tightly to the relationship as it was like going through a transitional phase. Maybe someone needed to split off and they kind of kept holding on, and it caused a lot of friction or fighting and stuff. And what we see here is they don't like fighting. They love harmony. So that's one of the things that they had to kind of like learn, was that the relationships change, relationships grow and develop and change. And so they've learned to kind of let people go on their own paths and change with certain situations. I'm seeing that, say, if you guys do have children, for some reason that's coming through kind of strong. So for most of you, you're going to want to have children with your future spouse, or they're going to want to have children with you. But like I said, take what resonates. If you're not looking to have kids, don't worry about it. But the thing is, even if one of their kids kind of rebels and stuff, they have more of an ability to understand that, even though it hurts them deeply. They know that this is a value of theirs, because it's almost like not really a value. It's more of like a fact of life. They know relationships change. They know people go through different moments in their life where they are, friends with someone one day and then not friends with someone the next. And so because of that, they accept those little patterns and movements. This is kind of what gives them a little bit of flexibility in their connections with others, because they've experienced these life lessons. It's almost like this person was a little possessive of their relationships when they were early on. They may have dealt with issues of jealousy or attachment or codependency when they were early on. I'm saying when they, by the time they meet you, I feel like they've gone through most of these changes and they've become more of an independent person. They realize they can't rely on people as rocks or structures for them to kind of because with the Tower in reversed here, this is kind of indicating like structures that collapse or structures that are unstable. And the thing is they know they can't rely on these structures indefinitely. They thought they could rely on people and maybe that's one thing that you're here to show them, actually, as their spouse. Like, you might be someone who comes into their life and shows them that you can trust someone, you can rely on a structure of someone. Like I said, they had a very close relationship with one of their parents. And even, actually, now that I'm seeing this, because it's the Emperor and Empress energy and it could be interchangeable, they could be both of their parents they had a close connection with, a very close relationship with. So what I'm seeing here is that these parents or this one parent was such a stabilizing force in their life. And because from an early age that was always there for them, they thought other people would always be there. So they had to kind of learn this lesson the hard way. You can think of this situation as like a parent that's too good to be true, and it kind of shelters their child from the hard lessons of the world. So they thought relationships were all very stable, and it turns out people are more fickle than they thought. So they couldn't really count on people. I think something that's going to really attract them to you, and you probably watching this, you're probably very loyal and devoted as a spouse. And it's funny, I feel like some of you might not think you are because you've probably had like numerous relationships and stuff, but I feel like when you click with this person, you will feel so devoted to them. Like, you will feel like sticking it out to the very end, basically. Yeah, with consider your foundation, look at how committed you are to love. I'll show you this card. There's even a home here, like a home life, and there's like, let me see if I can see that, 2 people and 2 foxes, and there's kind of like just like a lovely kind of little scene there of like home and hearth. And we get that again with the 10 of Cups here. And it's kind of reiterating the same message, that they really focus on this foundation of them and their close ones, right? They really want that type of foundation. That's something they value. At the same time, they realize relationships change. The world isn't perfect. They can't kind of hold on to people or control people. I feel like with effort here, they do that with other aspects of their life, and it works out very well. They kind of have a way of controlling more pragmatic activities, controlling and kind of attacking the world in this kind of they have like this vice grip over like situations and people that kind of creates like a sense of like stability and function. So if you're the type of person who kind of feels like when you go into an environment and you feel like it's like totally unstable and you're like, what the heck is going on? Why is this over here? Why is this over here? This person can walk into that same environment and kind of like get people to fall in line into one kind of like organization or like form, basically, that kind of is comfortable to move around in. Yeah, love is all around you. This is another card here that I'm going to get to Tall Tale in a minute, but love is all around you. This is just saying there's love everywhere all the time. Simply acknowledge this as truth. With this card, I think this is one of those values that they learn way later in life, possibly after they've met you. This is just indicating that no matter what situation you're in, no matter who you're talking to, there's a connection of love with every single person they encounter, every living being that they see and meet in this world. There's some kind of force underneath it all that kind of is connecting us all together. And it's kind of like there's a sense of like being able to look into someone's eyes, and even if you maybe like don't like that person in that moment or something, the fact is they can always find something to love about someone at any given time. And they learn this lesson later in life that they really can appreciate everyone. There's always something about everyone they can appreciate. Yeah, they learn to view the world in rose-colored lenses in later life. I feel like at first, when they were growing up with these relationship changes and this kind of like unstable foundations in their relationships, I feel like this person didn't view people like that. They viewed people kind of in an antagonistic way, kind of thinking like, okay, well, they're not a good person because they left me, or they're not a good person because they didn't want to stick it out with me. They didn't want to stick it out till the end, right? So this person with Love Is All Around You, they learn in life that everyone has positive qualities. This actually might be something you instill in them, actually, what I'm thinking, because I'm seeing this definitely in later life. It's like a very much a vibe of like, I see this person in like old age realizing like the point in life is that you kind of need to love everyone, and love is a really important factor in living. You know, I see them kind of developing this mindset, and I kind of see you helping them through that, like helping them get there to that, whether it's through like your teaching and your practice of how you believe in love, or through your relationship with them as a whole, like kind of like showing each other like things about each other that like maybe they thought were ugly traits of themselves, and you show them how beautiful they are, or vice versa. They start to see how beautiful your traits are, that things that you perceive are ugly with you, basically. Ugly is a strong word, just things that you maybe self-critique yourself on, or things like that. The other thing, which is quite interesting, because you would think with this effort card and this relationship change and like all the struggles they've been through, and the fact that they're such a hard worker and they've put in like 100% effort to get things done, and they're definitely like, I don't know if I want to use the word dynamos of energy, but they definitely, the word is like a vice grip. Like they take a strong effort to kind of make sure everything around them is stable. They try to like control their environment, basically. But they did learn like they can't control people. That is something that's really strong. So if you're worried about this person being controlling or anything like that, or if you have thoughts about this person, basically you don't want to deal with a controlling person, they're learning and have learned this lesson. And they know that they can't do that with people, basically. That people are more than that people have to be given the breathing space to do what they want, or to be who they are, to go in their direction that they want to go on. They might feel sad about it, what we see here with the 10 of Cups, especially if it's their close relatives or their close people in their life, because they really do the most for everyone in their life. They really kind of make sure they're like, in a sense, the provider, the warrior of the family. But anyway, I want to wrap this up with Tall Tale. And it's interesting, we have 35 right there, which is indicating 8. And I believe this number is related to abundance. But with a Tall Tale, this is interesting. They're quite the storyteller. And they love to exaggerate. They love to embellish. They love to kind of, how do I put this? They like catching the attention of the audience, and they kind of like taking them on to like this kind of like wild ride, you know, with their stories, with their exploits. They definitely are kind of adventurous in this sense. The thing is, the interesting thing in here that they have an interesting view on with this Pinocchio kind of sitting on here, and Pinocchio kind of representing like lies, basically, or like someone lying or not telling the truth. This person has an interesting view on truth telling. Because they believe in the truth, and they believe in telling the truth in really serious moments. Like when things get really serious and there's like, it takes a turn to like, I need to know the truth. You know, like if you look them in the eyes and you're like, serious time, like I need to know the truth. They will tell you the truth. But other than that, like they'll embellish things all the time. And it's kind of interesting because it just makes life more entertaining. Like it's part of the way that they kind of keep things lively and entertaining for those around them. They're definitely a storyteller. I feel like with a Tall Tale, they like to recount exploits that were fantastic or amazing or out of this world. They might have been, if they're an adventurer and they go on a lot of adventures, like physical adventures, like crazy skiing trips through like glaciers or something like that, or they go through, like they skydive or something like that. If they go on like these wild, crazy adventures, they want to retell those exploits to other people. They kind of want to share those stories. If there's someone who's kind of more focused on like a solid, stable work environment, which could happen with this person, they make the work environment exciting, and they kind of have a way of extracting the dramatic points and moments of their work environment and turning them into like fantastic, entertaining stories for their friends and family. This person, I feel like you're not going to feel bored around. This person's very entertaining. They have a really good sense of like how to keep the attention of the audience, and they know how to create fantastic stories. Once again, the children thing is coming up if you guys have children. Oh, and I just saw this in this 10 of chalices. There's a dog and a cat, so you might actually have little pet children in your family, little fur babies. But with the tall tale, they're definitely going to be able to keep the attention of the audience. This is definitely the type of person who will be able to like tell stories to your children or grandchildren. Basically, they have the ability to keep people's attention on them in that way. Once again, it's interesting because I feel like they do value their alone time here with the hermit right here. But the thing is, I was reading this hermit in conjunction with the tower, with those kind of relationships that they were kind of forced out of. The hermit can also represent a period of isolation that could be like forced upon you, that you really have to kind of like, you start to think a lot about like what's going on in your life and your experiences, because you're kind of forced into solitude, and it makes your mind speed up a little bit and kind of think about all the things that are like, it could be the things that are going wrong if you're like forced into solitude, or sometimes it could just be like daydreaming or something like that. But with relationship change, that's where they learn these lessons. These periods of being forced into solitude actually help them develop their values, right? So basically, in a nutshell, their values are like entertainment. They believe in entertaining. They believe that life should be a fun time. They believe that love should be a foundation, and there should be a solid structure. With the 4 here in effort in this Empress/Emperor energy, we have kind of like they want to build a solid foundation with their family that's really important to them. They know relationships change and evolve over time, and they know that they can't control certain things that are out of the thing that you can think of with them is they've learned, and something they value deeply is that you can't control relationships. You can't control people. You can't try to make someone do something they don't want to do. They're definitely the type of person that is going to let you kind of do your own thing. And they kind of learned that there's things in life you can control, and there's things in life you can't. This person might actually, if they're really evolved, they might actually believe in things like the universe kind of like guiding their lives, and they might believe in fate, or they might believe in some things that are predestined because there were just certain things in their life that they couldn't quite control that just happened to them anyway. So they might believe in kind of they might become spiritual towards the end of their life, or depending on what direction they take or what influences they've encountered, they could be a very spiritual person as well. And with love is all around you, this is kind of the most important thing. The value that they're developing when they meet you and they grow with you is this like ability to recognize that everyone has positive traits. Everyone is a good person. Whether you're jaded about it or not, everyone has something that they bring to the table and can contribute on this planet. So that's something that's like really cool that they develop later in life, like a very higher level spiritual value. So yeah, that was your guys' reading. If you like the reading, feel free to like or comment below. If you really like the reading, feel free to subscribe to my channel. I post pick a cards like this once every 1 to 2 weeks. With that said, we're going to move on to the next group with the Bruschite. And it was fun reading for you guys. You have a very cool person on your hands. So see you in the next pick a card. Bye. Hey group 2, this is if you picked the Bruschite right here. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. If you guys know another pronunciation for this, the spelling's in the timestamp, so just let me know if it seems weird or something. I was told it was called Bruschite, you know, bro. Anyway, so we have the oracle cards drawn out already for you guys, and then we're also going to shuffle the tarot cards on camera today. And let's get into your reading. Let's start and we'll find out what your future spouse values. Okay, what does the bro side pile future spouse value? I'm gonna flip this one upright because it's a court card and I feel like doing that with that one. Okay, let's get into the reading. I'm trying not to analyze the cards too much beforehand. I am a little bit, but I want to just kind of get into just start talking and stuff and get into the energy that way. Okay, so let's see. What should I start with? Your person has a few like different varied values and stuff. Let's start with do something for someone over here. It says give your attention to another. And we also have this with the 10 of Wands over here. I've been reading these cards as like experiences that has created their values and then kind of more like their values around here. Something that they have just inherently always valued. And I'm reading this as just something that's not something that they learn, but they've just always done it since birth. This is just kind of an innate part of who they are. They're just always been like this. This person takes on a lot of responsibilities. Do something for someone. This is the type of person who wants to take care of other people's needs, takes care of other people's problems. They're very giving in that way. They definitely want to help people out, I guess is the best way to put it. I think this person just really loves kind of caring for others in that way. Do something for someone just kind of makes me feel like they just want to help out. They don't mind taking on a lot of responsibilities. And I feel like they feel like it makes them stronger. With the 10 of Wands upright, this is kind of like a person who's like, I'm ready for the responsibilities. You know, I'm ready to take on these responsibilities. I feel like it is my duty. It is my, you know, it's almost like their passion, I guess is the best way to put it. They want to take on these things. They want to absorb these how do I put this? They want to do the bulk of the work, basically. I feel like this person might even feel like they do work better than other people, or they can like help people out. Like, for example, if they see someone struggling, like lifting a box, right? Like say someone's like moving into their house, it's moving day, someone's moving into their house and they see them from across the street and they see them moving this box, but they drop the box, maybe some things fall out of the box onto the front lawn of the house, and they run over and help them pick up the stuff and put the boxes back in, and they go, you know what, I have a few seconds or a few free minutes, I can actually help you move these things if it's a struggle for you, you know, because I think they really see people who struggle and they really see people's needs, I guess is the best way to put it, and they really want to help in those situations. They really want to kind of like take the time to kind of like get involved and like really do something for someone. I feel like for some people, this could be perceived as interfering if they miscalculate the need part of the situation. But for the most part, I think most people are very helpful and glad that they do this and help them out in these situations. I'm not seeing that they like overburden themselves or anything like that. If anything, this 10 of Wands card particularly, like she's like super flexible and she's attaching and touching all of these wands. Like it's almost like she's multitasking basically. She's basically just kind of like an acrobat in her skills, you know? So I feel like this is something they value and they're very good at. It's something that comes very naturally to them. Let's see, another thing they really value, this person, is leadership. This might be something that when they were young, they really valued leaders or viewing people powerful figures or people who led others or people who kind of were figureheads for groups of people or something like that. They really valued these leaders that they saw in their lifetime. I feel like for them, they really analyze leaders as well. Like they look at leaders as kind of like people who have a lot of responsibility, and they kind of put a lot of responsibility on these leaders, you know? For someone who is doing something for someone so much and other people so much, I feel like they take a lot of responsibility in the fact that when they help people, they try to do the best job they can. And I also feel like for them, they won't do a job unless they know they can do it better than the person that is, that's what I was trying to say earlier. They won't really help someone unless they know they can do it better. Like if they know they can do the job better than that other person, for example, they will help and get that thing done, right? They definitely know how to do, like, how to take on the responsibilities that, like, they're good at and they can accomplish versus the ones that they can't accomplish, basically. And I see that they really take on a lot. Like, in general, they take on a lot and they do a lot for those around them. But going back to this leadership thing, this is the type of person who kind of sees leaders and is very critical of leaders, but also very appreciative of leaders. Like they're very appreciative of their role in society and what they do, but they're also critical of them because they see how different leaders can kind of interact with the world and how some kind of fail at what they do and others are good at what they do. And they really look on these powerful figures as kind of representatives of like what's going on and trending with our times, basically. They can kind of like see how a leader affects the people, basically. They kind of see that in a relationship. This person also might in later life become a powerful leader. So this leadership thing could mean that they're in a position of leadership, which in that case, they would make an excellent leader. Like this person would be so good at leading groups of people into new like horizons, basically. Because they understand like the ability to like take care of those around them. They're definitely very, very caring. But whether or not it's something they do themselves, they definitely value leadership. They value positive leadership. They value the fact that, you know, they almost value the need of leaders in society. They see society as not really being able to function without strong leaders. And so they really like put on a pedestal different leaders of their time that they see change the world. Now, depending on their values, they might view some leaders as more like ethical than others. It's all going to depend on like how they grew up and kind of like what leaders they value themselves. But what I'm seeing here is they do have strong critical feelings about leaders and they also value those leaders at the same time. With Queen of Swords, it was in reverse earlier, but I'm taking it more as upright. She's breaking the sword in half, right? She's kind of breaking the sword in half and the clouds are behind her. In the typical Queen of Swords, she's raising her hand outright and the clouds are below her upraised hands or below her swords shooting straight into the sky. It's almost like she's above the clouds or she's above kind of like the storm. And so what I'm seeing here is this person kind of takes kind of like a top-down view of certain things. And especially with logical arguments that are dubious or kind of like, how do I put it? Not exactly sound. Like if someone has kind of like says something, they can like pick apart someone else's logical argument and kind of break it down until it's like nothing. Like they kind of like break down kind of like harsh words and harsh statements and kind of throw it back at that person and kind of say, well, like, you know, so you think this and this, well, I'm taking that apart with this argument and then basically that's there and that's this. And so now your argument's pointless, right? That's what I see this breaking of the sword, right? You're like breaking down the logical thought patterns that other people are like putting forward basically. And that's something they really value. They value this in themselves. They value kind of clarity of thought. They value the truth of a given situation. They really value kind of like, they don't value people manipulating with logic, basically. They don't value that at all. They see that as kind of like, it goes and ties in with this leadership vibe actually over here, where they see that as kind of like what a lot of people in powerful positions do. They like manipulate facts and they twist arguments in order to get what, kind of like to, I guess like, manipulate the group instead of lead the group. And so they see that and they kind of like view that as negative and they're very aware of that. And they'll even do this with leaders that they're critiquing. They'll kind of pick apart their arguments and show how they're not really focused on the kind of like It's interesting. This person's like a blend of like logic and emotion, kind of, where they like value the emotional stability of a situation and like the feelings that go into providing good things in the world. But at the same time, they have this logical side to themselves that can pick apart the logic of others. Yeah, it's interesting. I feel like now we're getting into this whole other side of them, right? This is the side of them that's very extroverted, what we've just discussed so far. Basically, their ability to do things for people, to be responsible, to take on those responsibilities, to value leadership, to see leadership in the community, whether it's a small community or a large community, and be able to like poke holes in those leaders' theories or support those leaders fully. Or even better yet, if this person can become a leader in like a situation or at work or in their community, or like even like a city, like what's it called, with the town council or something? What's that called? With like governments within their hometown or something, or governments where they live or where they move to, focused on politics and stuff like that. This person could be very beneficial in that. That's for some of you that have a very ambitious future spouse on your hands. But if your future spouse is not that ambitious, they're basically just gonna kind of like poke holes in like other people's theories and kind of like support certain leaders or other leaders that are, and not support other leaders. Anyway, we're going to get into basically what they're like alone, basically. With Intimacy, I see this person's very introspective, or they've learned to be very introspective. I definitely see that very similar to the first group, this person had a few moments of disaster. These weren't necessarily disasters in their relationship like the first group had, but these are disasters outside themselves. Things that kind of made them kind of retreat into a shell and be alone in kind of like their house, basically. With the Hanged Woman, this indicates a pause, right? And also with the Hanged Woman with this waterfall caressing her, this indicates cleansing, and she's kind of naked under here, and she's kind of letting the water kind of cleanse her body. So I definitely see these periods of isolation are very, very cleansing for this person. They're very, very helpful in getting them to feel purified, clean. I feel like this person, possibly when they're alone or something, they really like enjoy swimming or going to the ocean or something like that, because they really value like getting in touch with water when they're by themselves. But basically they do this whenever there's disaster. I mean, for the most part, this person is all over the place with helping people, right? They're like very in touch with their community and helping people and giving. This person's a big giver. But with Intimacy, I see when there's certain disasters that strike around them, or there's certain things that happen in their environment that can't really be avoided. A good example would be like the pandemic, for example, when we all had to be isolated, right? They would basically go into that isolation and kind of like really like look within themselves. And I see that like the very first time this kind of like disaster happened where they had to go within and look within themselves, I feel like it was very profound and insightful for them. I feel like it wasn't scary or daunting at all, with this epiphany in the background with this card, and with this woman with the star on her third eye. I definitely see this person like possibly could have come into some psychic abilities at some point, but with these lights, these glowing lights around them, they really got in tune with their like inner spiritual sense, basically. And that really created in them a profound sense of like purity, right? It's almost like they didn't realize till a disaster struck that they needed this time alone to kind of like decompress. But really when disaster strikes, and they do need this time alone, right? And these disasters could range from tons of things. Like I almost don't want to even give an example, because it's basically just like, and they're not really big disasters. It's just things that make you have to take a step back and like think and reevaluate what's going on in your future, right? Or a disaster that kind of, I'm seeing this more as like, because they're so focused on leaders and world events and stuff, I'm seeing this person is more focused on like disasters and like something in the news or something like that, or something that they read about, or even like something that they need to process, you know, and then just spending that alone time really like cleanses their body and kind of gets them that clarity they need. With the third eye right here, it's like they see clearly all of a sudden, and they're really aware of what's going on, and it really brings their insights, their insightfulness to the surface, basically, when they reemerge into the world. This is also something that as they've grown older, this introverted time of their life, this like period of withdrawing within and kind of like looking within when these disaster strokes, whoa, I'm getting emotional. This is a big deal with them. With this 6, this love card, with this harmony and this love, this is where they learned what true love is, right? And they learned this before they were ever in a relationship. They kind of learned ahead of time what true love is and what they value in a relationship and what they're looking for in a partner. So for you as their future spouse, they're coming prepared. They're coming to the table prepared. They already know what true love is and how it is represented. This is going to be especially beneficial for you if you've had relationships in the past, or maybe you thought you were in love at one point or another, and now you're kind of like reevaluating, like, do I even know what love is? Like, what is true love? They had an epiphany and insight, and I'm seeing these lights behind them as like their spiritual team, like their spirit guides and stuff, feeding them these insights when they're alone. And it really gave them the blueprint to what a true loving relationship is. This person will lead you in the love department. This person is going to lead you through those things because they have the clear understanding of what true love is. They know the vibe of like the essence of love, basically. And this was something that was really profound for them when this started coming into their mind and they started thinking about this. I think it really gave a stronger sense of devotion to the people that they helped, where they do something for other people. It gave them a stronger sense of compassion and understanding for the whole vibe that leaders bring to the table. And I definitely see that this was just probably one of their most powerful spiritual moments in their life, was learning what the true essence of love is. And for some of them, I think it just showed up as kind of like a feeling, right? It just showed up as kind of like this thing that kind of was in the background for a little while and then became more visible over time. But then they really just had this understanding of what they wanted in a relationship, right? And not on like a superficial level where it's like, I want him to be tall, or I want him to be, muscular or something. Or if it's a guy, like, I want her to be pretty and, shorter than me, whatever thing people want in physically or whatever. It wasn't like that. They had a feeling of love that they're looking for. They're looking for that reciprocal feeling. They know, basically they understand like the vibe they're putting out, and they understand the vibe, the piece that's going to come back and fit into them. This person has a really strong sense of like reciprocation in relationships. So this person's really going to understand, like, make sure the camera's still on. This person's really going to understand like who is the right person for them, who's the person meant for them. It's interesting with all of this introverted like stuff that they go through, and the fact that when they're introverted, that's when their spiritual insights come to them the most. With have faith, trust your faith in this situation, this gives them a sense of clarity about situations and events in their life, right? They have insight and they kind of pick apart situations and deal with those, kind of like breaking down those logical arguments and stuff. But at the same time, with have faith, they really just believe in things. They believe in the universe. They believe in life. They believe that their moments within are like divine inspiration, right? Yeah, if this person ever needs clarity, they just take some time out to like rest and recuperate. But sometimes I feel like this person might forget to go and get those insights, to go within and like rest and recuperate from their activities, because they're always like helping people and doing so much for everyone else around them. They're so involved in the world, basically, that they don't realize they need to like rest, recover, find some spiritual insights, because it just makes the belief in what they're doing so much richer. It gives so much meaning and purpose to their own life and their mission on this earth. And with have faith, they believe that they were sent here to do great things. And I think that's really something that's coming through strong. All right. I think that's about it for your reading. Let me see if I can see anything else. Extract the last little bit from the reading. I don't really see too much else. Yeah, I think I covered all of it. If you like that reading, feel free to like or comment below. If you really like the reading, feel free to subscribe to my channel. I post pick a cards like this once every 1 to 2 weeks. With that said, we are going to move on with the next group. I really enjoyed reading for you guys. You have a really inspiring person here as your future spouse. I really see them being like so devoted, so devoted to like you and the world. I definitely see these people doing the most for those around them. So that's really amazing. Moving on to group 3 with the ocean Jasper. Hey, group 3, this is if you picked the ocean Jasper the raw ocean jasper. Fun fact, these little generator pyramids over here, or towers, those are ocean jasper as well. They just look a little different than that one because ocean jasper is like a conglomeration of like tons of different colors. Anyway, so we have your spread laid out. I already drew your oracle cards for this reading, so all we have to do is draw the tarot cards, and then we're going to get right into it with what your future spouse's values are. So let's get these cards out here onto the table. What is the ocean jasper spouse value? Let's see what will help me with this reading. And I'm going to pull two from right here. Okay. Okay, let's get into the values of your future spouse. So first thing that drew my attention out of all these cards, I was looking at these cards, I was like, oh, there's the Ace of Swords. And I was like, oh wait, it's reversed. And I realized it's reversed. And I thought about it and I was like, this is because, you know, this person is kind of spacey. So Ace of Swords upright is like clarity, like exactitude of thought, like having an epiphany or an idea or being inspired, basically. It's that kind of like seed or like having a clear head, basically a clear mind, you know? Basically, this person feels clouded and somewhat confused sometimes, or this is something that has kind of led them to have the lifestyle they live. They kind of grew up kind of like very dreamy. And almost like, it's not quite dreamy because it's not like they had like, it was more like they were just heady, like they were too much in their head and they kind of had too many thoughts going on and they kind of had too many things swirling around in their head, and they realized that they kind of, they didn't realize it until later, but they realized that like they had this whole thing with their thoughts in their head and they kind of wanted out, or they got out of it, right? I feel like for this person, when they were really young, with love endures, love does not give up on or lose faith. Love is hopeful and withstands every situation. This person believes in true love. With the Lovers card here, they believe in relationships where it's like that person and their person and them can totally, completely merge and be one. You know, they believe in that true love. They've always thought about that from like a very young age. They just believe in that kind of, they're like fairy tale romantics, basically, right? Fairy tale romantics that had a very overactive mind. And it's almost like not even with imagination. It's almost like, I feel bad for this person as like a child, basically, because when they were growing up, other kids had like imaginative thoughts or like had dreams or hopes or like fantasies. This person had just like tons of like thoughts. Like imagine some kids having like visual images or like being exploring with touch and stuff. This person was very heavy mind focused. Like their mind was racing 1,000,000 miles a minute when they first, this person actually in a weird way may have had some form of ADD or ADHD when they were like growing up or when they started their life out. Basically, they kind of maybe like had a very hard time focusing because they had like so many different thoughts going on in their head all the time. I feel like one of the things that was important for them, especially growing up, is with this true love endures and this Lovers card, they really, when it came to like love situations, that was like the only thing they could really focus on, was like the fantasy of like being with someone. So when they watched like romantic movies as kids or read about stories in books, anytime the characters were loving or had like a loving moment with another character or really had an intimate moment, they really were able to focus in that moment. You know, it's like everything else couldn't keep their attention except for true love, you know, except for stories about love. You know, this person's definitely very much, I guess this person's kind of like a romantic, I guess you could say. but yeah, their mind was definitely all over the place, like in their early life. Like they were just kind of couldn't focus too much, or they had a lot of thoughts and ideas. If their parents kind of, depending on how this child kind of like engaged with the world, if their parents kind of encouraged them to share their thoughts and ideas, they probably became very, very talkative, like in the sense that they're just splurging out what's in their mind, But if they were like kind of told to kind of like keep their thoughts to themselves or to not share those thoughts, if their parents kind of shush them up, I guess, from an early age, they probably became very like, how do I put this? Quiet, and their mind just got super active on the inside, right? I feel like some of the people that express their thoughts outwardly, this is an interesting person because I feel like some of these thoughts could and possibly be slightly disturbing to those around them, especially as a child and kind of like growing up with this kind of mind. I can see this person kind of like if they were allowed to talk about their thoughts, say their parents didn't mind, but they shared them at school. If they'd gotten into the habit of expressing these thoughts, they probably alienated a lot of people from them. They probably only had like one or two close friends, even though they were very, very talkative. And on the flip side, if they bottled up these thoughts, they probably have a lot of friends around them, a lot of people who really like them or who were drawn to them, basically because of their mysterious qualities, right? And because of those mysterious qualities, they kind of, how do I put this? They attracted a lot of people to them, right? And those people never knew what was going on in their mind. And so they kept all those thoughts to themselves. They kept all those thoughts secret into themselves, basically. Yeah, this person's very like heady, thought focused, lots of like, possibly lots of ideas and inspirations. But what I'm seeing with the Ace of Swords in reverse, it's not like one clear thought would come to them in like small bursts or epiphanies. It's like they were all vying for attention. Think of like the Five of Wands, but like in your head, right? And then think of sometimes not even being able to think clearly because there's so many thoughts. It's like, it'd be the same thing as it's like, like the difference between focusing on one raindrop, right? Because you can see a little drop of water and you can focus on it versus like having a cloud, which is filled with thousands of raindrops. So that kind of creates this kind of like cloud in their mind where they can't really think or focus too well or too easily. Anyway, they go through a transformation, thank goodness, right? Like something happens to them and they're kind of destined to go through this transformation. And this on one hand gives them like with karmic completion, this gives them kind of like an idea, the fact that like they have to solve some karma from a past life. And they're realizing that part of this that's like going on in this lifetime is like had to come from somewhere, right? They were just thinking in their head, like, if they don't believe in karma, they're probably not aware of this. They're probably just going on their merry way. Cause I can see some of them being more like down to earth, less spiritual of types, like instinctively, but if they do have access to spirituality, or if they were grown up with that or they were raised with that, they definitely know that this is kind of like a karmic thing for them, that they basically were brought into this life with some past life issues from their previous life, right? That were kind of like affecting them in this life, and they had to like work through those in this lifetime. They're breaking down a lot of karmic cycles in this lifetime, basically. Yeah, so one thing that happens to them, and this is kind of the key point here with earth magic, is something grounds them into their bodies at some point. And this could be anything from like a, how do I put this? Basically, when they got into some activity that utilized their bodies, they sort of became clear-minded, clear-focused, clear-headed, right? So for example, say like they were in school one day and all of a sudden like, they were playing football or something. It's the first time they ever played football. And then like someone tackles them, right? The physical impact of being tackled to the ground and the physicality of it, the very physical nature of it, awakened in them a clarity of thought, right? And they kind of learned that like grounding is the key point for their like uncovering all of their gifts and abilities and talents, right? Yeah, I definitely see it helps them in so many different ways. And this is where we really get into the meat and potatoes of what your person values, right? With earth magic here, this is just indicating that this person like develops this strong connection to earth energy, right? Earth energy, and especially this card being a 1 right here, if I'm not mistaken, this is represented by the root chakra as well. Being grounded in that rooted nature, of that grounded nature, really created in them this kind of like awakening. Like they realize like, whoa, when I like play, like I'm just using football as an example because it's the first thing that came to mind. My family watched the Super Bowl last weekend and it was really fun and stuff. But anyway, so say it was like a sport or something. It could be anything from like, it could also be if they never like got physical with a sport or anything like that. It could be like their first physical relationship, like their first kiss, their first awakening, like sexually, I guess you could say. Like whatever it was, it created this sense of grounding in them that made them feel focused, right? And they realized that like getting in their physical body is the key to everything to survival for them, basically. So with earth magic, they get very in touch with the earth. If this person's spiritual, like I'm seeing 2 things with this person. If they could be spiritual, they might not be. If they're spiritual, they got into some territories with actual magic, right? Like that's a possibility that they got into some territories with earth magic and grounding and kind of like using the earth below them and going on nature hikes and being very physical. They had a very blend of like spirituality and physicality, and that kind of created this beautiful synergy for them to create like magic and manifestation in their life. Like they would be manifesting with getting grounded versus then getting heady and visualizing a lot. They would get grounded in their bodies and they would almost enact the manifestation. So they would probably dance out these manifestations, or say they wanted to like get in touch with an animal spirit. They would like move like the animal or like act out like the animal. This could get into some weird stuff, I guess you could say, because I definitely see that like if they got spiritual, like they got into touch with some like weird side of themselves that was like very creative, I guess you could say is the nice way to say it. Weird, I'm just saying, because they got into some habits that maybe some people would think are strange or bizarre. I definitely see with this person, because if they were sharing their thoughts, like we mentioned earlier, if they're a thought sharer, they probably had a lot of weird habits that they were expressing all the time. That person probably got really spiritual. If they're the very popular version of them that didn't share their thoughts that much, they probably kept that bottled up, basically. Either way, when they got grounded and into their body, they stopped saying so many things to people that were off-putting. So they may have attracted more friends. And if they kind of like were grounded and they kind of like, if they were getting grounded, or when they started getting grounded, right, and focusing on the earth and rooting themselves in the earth, basically, then if they were the other type of person, their inner thoughts would kind of just dissipate or kind of go away, and they would feel like a vibration in their body. They would still probably have all of their friends. It's just they probably wouldn't have suffered so much loneliness like the talkative type would have before they got grounded, basically. It's interesting. They kind of realize that this earthy side of themselves, this grounded side, and true love are kind of entwined into one thing. Because remember, when they were younger, they could only see, when they saw true love, they like, that was the only time in movies when they experienced that they could feel grounded and stable and kind of like serene, basically. And now it's kind of like through physical activities or getting grounded with the earth that they can feel that serenity, right? Anyway, basically, because instead of like sharing all their thoughts, right, and like keeping their thoughts in their mind and keeping those all bottled up, right, they realize that kind of like moderation in all things is kind of like what creates a balanced personality. So I feel like any extremes that they might have had, they kind of leveled those out for themselves. Yeah, this getting grounded is really what kind of like, they that's the thing. They value this groundedness. They value this grounded nature to them. They value true love because this was the first thing that made them feel separated from their mind and their thoughts. And they value moderation because they learned through being grounded that, you know, they could have had habits where they like overate a lot, or they underate a lot, or they kind of like overindulged in something or underindulged in something else. And they kind of learned that like with moderation and kind of slowly adding in these grounding activities a little by little, that they could really give it is like a sense of like small amounts of medicine to their mind to kind of create this kind of clarity for them. With karmic completion, this is just talking about the fact that they know they're on a path. They know they're on a path of growth and change, right? With 14 right here, 4 and 1 adds to 5, and that is a card, that is a number of change. So it's like with the karmic completion, they know they're on this path of change. They know that they're going through life in a transformative way. So something they value about themselves and something they value in general is people who have the ability to transform in their lifetime, right? To transform themselves, to become something different, to put themselves through alchemy and come out the other end with something else, as something else. Yeah, it's interesting with this Hermit card. This is really representing, based on the symbols of this, with this woman and the light kind of flying through her, shining through her. You can imagine their thoughts as kind of like clouds inside the prism of the body. And now these lights can just fly through them and kind of like, they can kind of be kind of like, they can let things flow through them, even though they're grounded. It's a strange thing, because even though they're grounded, they can let things pass them by. They don't have to get attached to thoughts, or they don't have to get kind of like too focused on something, or too unfocused on something. They can actually focus better. Yeah, I think this person in general, this is just a side note, but this person with the Hermit card might be a little more introverted than people around them, even if they were very talkative and they felt lonely at those points in their life. Once they start getting in touch with this earthy energy of themselves, they really realized they were a little more introverted than other people, and they kind of like kept to themselves a little bit. Anyway, one thing that like is really important, and this is kind of a value that they experience later in life, and this is kind of the beautiful thing when they meet you, and actually this is like very, very cute. I mean, it's very touching, I'll just say that. When they meet you, you're basically the most grounding influence that they've come across, right? All these little precursors about the true love that they watched in videos and stuff, when they meet you, they realize that you are the person that is like the totally grounding influence for them, right? You're the person that is like a representation of the earth itself, of like nature itself. And basically with the 10 of Cups here and the treasure your loved ones, it is important to love others deeply. They really, because of this, it's like this newfound joy and unbridled enthusiasm, basically for the relationship with you and the family that you guys do or do not create. If you choose to create a family, that's on you. Or fur babies, again, I know I mentioned that in the other pile when this card came up, but basically like they're really going to value their family life because it really creates this like beautiful harmony for them. And the fact is it like clears their head, it clears their mind, it keeps their thoughts at bay. Definitely activities like engaging in like sexual activities with your partner, with your future spouse, that's going to help ground them. Being close to each other and just touching each other is going to help ground them. You're basically this grounding influence that creates like their mind. It's going to like kind of make their thoughts go kind of flatline, right? Kind of make them disappear, right? This is kind of this Ace of Swords card reversed is like the main challenge, and it kind of created all their values through life. So first, their value in loving relationships, their idealization of love and their value of that, their value of moderation, kind of taking things one step at a time and as they come, not going to too many different extremes, and even moderating their own personality from different extremes of being either too outgoing or too reserved, you know? And with the earth magic, their value of getting in touch with the earth and physical things and getting grounded in physicality, whether that's a sport, a relationship, anything that could affect their physical body. And then lastly, they treasure their alone time. That's something else they value. And with the karmic completion, they value the fact that their life was a transformative experience that led them to their final and last value, which is basically you, which is kind of really cute. They value you, and like, because you're the kind of like point where it's like the stasis, right? The journey's kind of over and they can just take a breath and really just enjoy life. You know, they can just kind of like sit back and enjoy what is going on in their life and kind of just have a good time. So that was your reading. If you picked this pile, if you picked the Ocean Jasper. With that said, I'm going to end the reading there. If you like this reading, feel free to like or comment below. If you really like this reading, feel free to subscribe to my channel. I post pick cards like this once every 1 to 2 weeks. With that said, that was the That wasn't the last group. No, we have 2 more groups. The next group is the group with Aquamarine for group 4. So I'll see you guys later in the next pick a card, and we'll move on to group 4. Okay, group 4. This is if you picked the Aquamarine, this blue Aquamarine. I got this recently at a gems show in Arizona. Fun fact. Okay, so we have all your oracle cards already drawn out, and now we just need to draw out your tarot cards, and we will get into what your future spouse values. Okay. I don't know why I'm reversing them. I should just flip them up, right? Let's flip these over. Okay, so let's get into your reading. So first, we have a few things here. So with this pile, it's interesting. I'm not totally seeing a story. It might come to me a little bit later, but I'm not totally seeing a story of like why they value what they value. Except for right here in this little area right here. There's kind of like 2 things going on. So anyway, with the 5 of Swords, if you notice this woman, she is drawing, it's almost like she's drawing a line in the sand, and these people are bowing before her, basically saying like, okay, we respect this boundary that you're drawing. And so this 5 of Swords reminds me of boundaries, right? Because of this person had to learn, also with simple acts of kindness, they had to learn how to set boundaries and at the same time be kind. They had to learn this balance between the 2. And so the one thing that's interesting about your person is they value both of these things. They value the fact that they can set boundaries with people, and they value the fact that they can be kind with people. They really love the people around them, and they really like do a lot for them in the sense of like always treating them with respect. I mean, we had another pile where that person really did a lot of activities for people, but this person really treats people with respect, with kindness, always is really nice to people. This is the type of person that no matter like, the thing is, it's almost like this person doesn't know what people are going through. So because they're unaware of what people are going through, they always like treat everyone with the kindest words or being the kindest behavior, right? Like always being the nicest person to everyone around them. But at the same time, with this boundaries card, they're keeping people at arm's length, right? They're not letting people encroach on their personal space. You know, there was a comment, I think on my YouTube channel, and someone else commented below it recently or liked it or something, but someone wrote, don't mistake kindness for weakness. And that's so true for this person. This person is very kind, but they're very strong, and they set up these boundaries like with almost like precision. Like they're very aware of where their boundaries lie and where the others kind of begin. And they learn this early in life. Early in life, they learned that, you know, something that was basically like going through their head really early on was like, okay, they had a lot of empathy for people. We'll just say that. So like when they met people, they would be very, very kind to them right off the bat. And then if that person transgressed those boundaries or tried to get into their territory or do something to hurt them or do something negative, we'll just call it negative to them, they would immediately realize like, whoa, they got too close. Like they got too close to me. I need to set up a boundary there, right? So basically, this could have happened when they were really young is what I'm saying. For some of you, your spouse learned this later in life, like in their teen years or like early adulthood. But for most of you, this was like a child that was setting boundaries, right? So they were always really kind and very polite, but they always had boundaries up. They always knew right off the bat, like, no, you can't do that, you know, and they would be kind about it. It's one of those things where it's like, no, you can't do that to me, but I do love you and I do appreciate you. And I do think you're a wonderful person, but we just have this wall that you cannot cross. You know, it's like something like that. So they definitely value their kindness and their boundaries, and they learned both of these skills interchangeably when they were quite young. Something else they learned that this kind of formula was really a winning formula for relationships for them. They really created the closest, most intimate ties with people that had the longevity to them, right? So this is the type of person that they value their close friendships. They value those intimate one-on-one connections with friends, and they value that connecting, that sharing, that appreciating. We see that here with the Two of Chalices. And because of that, they created these long-lasting connections, right? That lasted for many, many years because they knew their boundaries right away. And the thing is, not everyone in this lifetime does. And maybe you watching this reading, you're thinking like, man, I don't have a clear idea of my boundaries, and I'm like trying to figure those out. This person is like knows how to set those boundaries, right? They'll almost set them for you, and they'll help you set them yourself, basically. But yeah, so basically because they set these boundaries, they have very long-term friendships, right? From like the day they met that person, because everything was set up at the very beginning. They're kind of like the type of person that in the very beginning of a relationship will like lay down like how the relationship's going to develop, what they want out of the relationship. This person might have a good idea of like foresight or like intuition as far as like how things will develop, because they were like dealing with this stuff so early on with the boundaries thing, and they knew that they don't want people to cross certain lines. So it really gave them a one in. It really gave them a one-up on relationships and building relationships with other people. So with simple acts of kindness, on one hand, they were a very sweet person, very kind person, very nice person. They weren't ever mean about these boundaries. And they were also able to build these relationships that they carried throughout their life, right? I don't know if this person has many friends or very few friends. It depends on how many personal things they didn't want people to cross, and vice versa, and like how they set up those boundaries with people, depending on what their personality was basically in the early of their life, depends on how many friends they had. But all their friends are like really close, intimate connections that understand each other, and they know not to cross a certain line versus what line they can cross, basically, or what line is acceptable to like engage with or communicate with. What line is like a boundary, basically. Interestingly enough, because this person set up so many boundaries early on and kind of was really, really good at it, we have the heart of the matter right here, which says there's more going on than meets the eye. And this is just kind of indicating their mysterious nature, right? They kind of have this like purity about them. And it's kind of with the deep breath right here, this card being like basically totally white up here, except for this pink flower down here. There's a face in the background. I don't know if you can see that face. But basically, it's just there's so much white, and like it almost reminds me of like something very pure, very innocent. I feel like this person, even though they had like kind of like these ways of like setting up boundaries with people, had a very innocent nature. But there's more going on than meets the eye with this person, and something that they really value is their mysteriousness. They value the fact that they can like go under the radar, basically. I'm also seeing this person in this card right here is like invisible. You know, you're focusing on the flower, but the face is back there and it's almost like invisible. So they almost value their invisibility and their mysteriousness. The fact that there's always more going on with them, but they don't let other people see it. They definitely keep those things, thoughts to themselves. I see that this provides a fascinating dream life with Nine of Swords in reverse. Nine of Swords upright, this guy's like bombarded by these demons, right? So you just think of this in reverse as like a clear, peaceful sleep. The boundaries in their waking life really set them up for boundaries in their dream life, right? They don't have too many crazy, wild nightmares, right? Where there's like crazy tons of weird things happening to them. They're always like having these peaceful, beautiful dreams. And they're kind of like don't even stress about their dream life. They might not even remember their dreams sometimes, actually. But if they do remember their dreams, they're very beautiful, pleasant, peaceful dreams. Yeah, it's interesting. Basically, because of those boundaries things, this person developed, and the thing is, it's interesting because tarot is very interesting in this way. Sometimes when I do readings for people and private readings and stuff, sometimes the cards literally won't answer my question. If this person's not meant to know the answer, they won't answer the question. It's like, I won't tell you. And so I'm like, okay, I guess that's it. And we're kind of getting something similar here. We're not necessarily getting the life story for their values. We're just kind of getting two of their values over here. Kind of like how they are, basically. And that's kind of interesting. We just kind of got this element here in the dreams and stuff, and kind of their mysteriousness, and that might be wise because they're so mysterious. This reading's only going to let you know what they value, but not how they exactly got to those values. It might be that they want to kind of like leave those values up for you to decide, or when you guys meet, that you're going to get to know them and realize this a little bit more about them. So anyway, so first of all, with completion, this person, they really value completing what they begin, completing what they start. So whenever they start a project, they do it till the end. They do it to the end and they complete it. And it's interesting because this is a purple color. I'm seeing the crown chakra available here for them. And the fact is, this crown chakra leads them to finishing projects, right? It always nudges them in that direction to finish the project or get the final thing done. Even if they lose motivation in the middle of it, they're definitely a completer. They're definitely someone who completes things. And they like completed things. They probably make decisions really quickly, or like even if they take their time making a decision, they really like, once they make that decision, it's set in stone and they set it aside and it's completed and they move on to the next thing. They're very much, that's something they value about themselves. It's almost like their decisiveness is they value. Their individuality, they also value. Something about them with their individuality is that they really value who they are as a person and the fact that they're not like anyone else. One of their values is their fact that people are unique, and especially they are unique. They really value their own individuality, how they don't really know anyone else in their world who's like them, and that's really a sense of pride for them. Also with the Princess of Chalices here, this person values their motivation, specifically their emotional motivation. So this person is motivated by emotions. With this dragon here, right? This dragon is like, she's riding on this dragon and she has this cup and the waters are raging, right? This person's motivated by their emotions, and when they need to calm their emotions with a deep breath, they go into this moment of resting and they do some deep breathing and stuff. So they really value their breath and kind of like their sense of quiet. They value their sense of quiet, and basically they value that back and forth. When they're emotional, they know how to utilize those emotions and move them into action, move them into a battle plan, basically, to move through those things. They let those emotions inspire them into action, basically. And with a deep breath here, when they're by themselves, they just really take the time to relax, breathe out, and kind of like just enjoy the calm serenity of stillness, right? This is something that like they're also, what I'm seeing here with this white card right here being invisible in the individuality, there's just certain habits that they do that they don't want me to talk about in this reading. Like they're very private about these things. So it's like they're very private about their private life. So there's things I just can't talk about here because of that. So hopefully that's okay for you. Hopefully they can respect their privacy. They gave me a lot of information here. But there is this sense that there's more than meets the eye with this person. And there's just going to be, when you meet this person and you get married to them, there's a whole bunch of elements to this person that you're going to figure out along the way. They kind of like the mystery of things, and they value mystery. They value mysteriousness. They value the fact that they're almost like an enigma. They're such an individual. They know that like, you're probably going to have fun putting together the pieces of the puzzle of their personality. So they don't want to like lay everything on the line right off the bat, because they want you to have fun kind of like getting to know them and kind of like digging into their soul, who they are, and kind of figuring out their personality, basically. I definitely see you, the person watching this reading, possibly is a very curious person. So if you came to this reading and you're very curious, or you really get curious about specific individuals, or you like people who kind of like have walls up that are very like enigmatic, like kind of not really one way or the other or something like that, or they're very individual, or they stand separate from the crowd, they're very unique in their own way, that's kind of this person. They're kind of like, that's how they kind of attract people to them. It's part of the glue that's going to bond you guys together, basically, because I'm seeing here that And it might work in the other way too. Like if you came to this reading, you're thinking like, man, this person really sounds like me. Like they're talking about me. It might work in the other way, right? Where you guys both have mysterious qualities to you, and you draw your curiosity in each other, and it's just this process of discovering. That's something they also kind of value, or it's not really that they value, they just look forward to it. They look forward to the process of discovery in a relationship, right? It's something that, like, with the acts of kindness and the boundaries, it's something that kind of fuels this Two of Chalices, their kind of connections with people, but it's also something they really want to reserve for their one true love, and that would be you, basically. So yeah, I think that's about it for this pile. If you like this reading, feel free to like or comment below. If you really like this reading, feel free to subscribe to my channel. We're always welcoming new subscribers here at Cody Tarot. I post pick a cards once every 1 to 2 weeks. With that said, we're going to end the reading there, and we're going to move on to the very last group, the 5th group, with the Stillbite. Hey, group 5. This is if you picked the Stillbite right here. This cool... I've seen this stone at gem shows, but I just bought some the last gem show I went to, so that's really fun. Anyway, okay, so I'm starting to get a little tired because, you know, this is the last reading and stuff, so I'm a little loopy. But yeah, I hope I can do this reading to the best of my ability still, though, so hopefully that's the case, and hopefully you guys still enjoy it. Anyway, so we have our oracle cards. I pre-drew them for this pile. And then all we have to do is draw the tarot cards, and we will get into what your future spouse values. Whoa, that was trippy. Okay, so let's... Oh, we have more over here. And we'll draw the last one. Okay. Let's take a look. Okay, let's get into it. So I'm still a little confused by this card, but I think it's going to come to me during the reading. Anyway, let's get into the first thing that I saw, actually. Basically, I'm reading some of the tarot cards as reasons why they kind of like came to their values, and kind of the things around here as their values. That's how it's been in most of the piles, except like one. So I'll just keep reading like that. The priest card right here, if you notice this priest card, there is a person bestowing this other priest with a hat, right? Like imagine this priest passing down his hat to this other priest right here. This card represents the Hierophant, right? And the Hierophant is very traditional, right? It represents traditions and cultures and things of that nature that are, you know, in this specific case, it's passed down. Something that happened to them, well, not really happened to them, but when they were a child, their parents or their society, it's either one or the other, imposed their way of, basically imposed their way of being onto them, and basically said, like, you know, in more or less, this is more in like subtext, right? They didn't really directly say this, but it was more like, you have to do what we say. Like, you have to kind of follow our dreams. You kind of have to do what we want you to do. Like, we don't want you to do what you want to do. We kind of have this idea for you, and you need to complete it, right? It was almost like something about their society, like they felt like they had to fit into a box right away when they were like growing up, or with their parents. They really were a certain way, and they maybe had dreams to do something, but then they realized that their parents or their society didn't really approve of their dreams. Yeah, and this kind of made them develop this kind of character where they kind of like had to hide themselves. So they kind of had to, how do I put this? They had to hide what they really wanted out of life, you know? For some of them, this could also have to deal with issues with like sexuality, like if they were, if they were like, gay, lesbian, or trans, or something like that. They basically like had to deal with that like growing up, like people not wanting them to be a certain way like that. But for others of them, this had to do with like a dream or a career path that they wanted, that like other people basically said like, oh no, we want you to do this. Or maybe they had like, their family had like a business or something, and they were priming them to take over the family business from a very young age or something like that. Their family had these ideas for them, and it wasn't what they wanted. It wasn't their true path or what they really believed they wanted, basically, or what they felt like they wanted, right? They had these dreams, and basically with follow your dreams here, they do learn, spoiler alert, they do learn to follow their dreams, and that's something they deeply value, is like being true to yourself in your dreams. But they had to learn that kind of like the hard way. What I'm seeing here with Princess of Swords, they became a very active and energetic supporter for like the views and opinions of others. And they became kind of like someone who kind of like, how do I put this? They kind of constantly sought out the truth in others. Like they kind of looked for other people's true points of who they were. Kind of like, what is your truth? What is your truth? Because they couldn't express their truth, and they were confined to this kind of like role that they had to play. They were very active in like trying to figure out what other people's true dreams were and helping them follow their dreams, right? And they wanted people to be honest about it. They would dig and dig and dig until they found out what people really truly wanted and help them follow that path. Now it's interesting because I'm not seeing any transitional cards into this, but I'm definitely seeing that this person came to a realization and awakening. That's probably, okay, healing the heart is kind of talking about that a little bit because it's a 23 and that breaks down to 5, right? So it's all about like change with healing the heart. This person at some point or another, when they went through a heartbreak or something of some kind of painful nature where their heart was broken, possibly an early relationship or something, or some other thing where someone kind of was unkind to them or something, or betrayed them or something, and there was an unkind moment, it triggered in them this kind of like, they kind of did some shadow work without knowing what shadow work was, right? Because I think this was when they were maybe like in their teens or something. This is a knight, so it could be their like teen years, young adult. But with healing the heart, I'm definitely seeing that they came to this realization that like, you know what? I have to follow my dreams no matter what. Like I can't just bend over backwards and do what everyone else wants me to do. I have to follow my path, and I should be truthful about it. Like I should be truthful to myself. If I want these other people to be truthful to their dreams, I have to be truthful to my own dreams. So this was a really empowering and awakening moment for them. And it solidified this value even more of follow your dreams. Like they definitely believe that like everyone should go for what they want in life, no ifs, ands, or buts. Like if you want it, you should go for it. If you truly desire it or you crave it, you should achieve it. You should go for it. They don't really like people being limited by society or anyone of like anything like kind of that nature, like of someone being held back by their culture or their family or their upbringing that they feel tied to, that they're kind of want to separate from, right? This is quite interesting because if they're in the case that I mentioned where they're gay, lesbian, or trans or something like that, where they're queer, they could kind of become an activist for other people and like help other people come out of the closet or something like that, or kind of help people discover their true selves or help them focus on their true selves. So I'm definitely seeing with follow your dreams, there's some kind of passion about basically awakening people to their true purpose and being that kind of like catalyst that wakes people up to the light within them, basically. It's interesting. There's a few things like here coming through with honesty. This is kind of like that storyline, actually, the one that I just mentioned kind of leads into all the other cards. So I'll get into that in a second. But with honesty is essential, speak with love and truth. This person really believed that being honest was a really key point in life. And they kind of learned this a little bit later because definitely when they were younger, when they decided to follow their dreams, they still kind of had to play a part just to like wait till they had to kind of bide their time till the right moment where they could kind of break free and kind of like do what they wanted or had the power to do what they wanted, you know? I definitely see they're very explosive with the Princess of Swords. This is equivalent to the Knight of Swords. So they're definitely very explosive in their activities, and they kind of had a passion and a drive to kind of like help people be true to themselves. And that basically like created some values in them over their lifetime that they've kept with them. So stemming out of this main follow your dreams value, they grew to like, with honesty is essential. They basically learned to be honest, to speak with love and truth, to basically speak kind of like maybe in a blunt way, but at the same time in a way that was caring towards others. Next, we see that the Six of Swords, you see there's two people on a boat, right? And they're taking these swords and they're throwing them into this river, right? And what you can think of this is it's lightening the load of the boat, right? They really believe that getting rid of unnecessary junk, whether that's mental chatter, whether that's stuff in your life, whether that's clearing out your garage and getting rid of old junk and stuff like that. They believe in getting rid of the old, like out with the old and in with the new, like get rid of the stuff that's weighing you down, you know? And they really value that. They really value like coming in, cleaning up shop and making things fresh and new and light. Light is a key word here. And with the swords cards right here and even the Nine of Wands card a little bit, there's a lot of airy, fiery nature, and that's very light energy. It's not like earthy or watery, you know, where it's like heavy or grounded into gravity. You know, fire rises up, the wind is in the air. It's like very light and airy nature. They kind of want to keep things light, you know, even though they are very like serious about getting people to follow their dreams and stuff. They definitely want people to like expel all the stuff that's unnecessary so they can have a lighter heart, a lighter soul, a lighter being. And healing the heart's really important with other people too. You know, they're healing the hearts of other people, you know, by their honesty, by their uncompromising manner of living, by getting people to basically, how do I put this? They just have a way of awakening in people their true calling, their true purpose, their true passion, and getting them to kind of like see that, I guess is what you could say. They're kind of like these people that dig into souls. They kind of dig into souls, and once they get there, they kind of say like, look, this is who you are. And the person kind of has no choice but to wake up, right? To wake up to their true passion. This person is really good for people who are very lost. Like there's like, for example, this person would be really helpful to people who are so lost, so clouded in their interests and their lifestyle that they've lost so much of their identity to the social world around them, you know, that basically like kind of dictates what they should and shouldn't do. This person really blasts through that and clears that energy out and kind of gets them to awaken to their true passion, their true calling. On the flip side, something they learn later in life with the Nine of Wands, the Nine of Wands always, to me, represents someone like at their post for a while, like kind of like standing guard or being dutiful, you know? And I see the wands in the background representing like how many years they've been there. This is the type of person that believes even when you found your calling, your passion, or who you truly are, your dreams, stick with it. Don't waver from it. Like, don't kind of like, change with the tides, you know? Stick to your vision, hold fast to your, you know, who you are, basically. Yeah. They're also, interestingly enough, a very team player. With ask for help here, this says ask for help. What do you really need? Be willing to accept support. This person is just, wow, like, they're such a team player. They are kind of the person who's always there if people need help, or if like, they kind of encourage people to ask for help too. Like if someone basically is trying to do it all alone, or they see someone struggling, going back to this Nine of Wands energy, if someone's being at their post for too long and like they're struggling with it and they're just being stuck in this stagnant energy, they like to get that energy and clear it out, right? Just like the Six of Swords energy where they take unnecessary stuff and throw it down, they kind of take away people's inhibitions basically, and their inhibitions to ask for help, to ask for teamwork and to kind of like collaborate with people. They really value people who ask for help, basically. So it's hard to explain, but like basically if someone comes up to them and asks them for a favor, even if they can't complete that favor, they really respect the fact that they reached out and asked for some help. You know, they really respect that in others. They value that in others. If people ask them for like, so if you're the type of person and you like, if you're overloaded or you're overworked and you feel like, and you ask for help from people, or you've learned to do that, this person's really going to admire that. If you ask them for help, they're really going to admire it. That they may not be able to help you, depending on what you ask them for, but they'll definitely respect you from that point on. You know, they kind of, they're kind of not attracted to people who kind of like try to do it all themselves, you know? They see that as kind of like a sense of suffering, or a sense of like kind of losing yourself to some kind of sense of suffering. And so they really want to like, they want people to kind of like ask for what they need so they can receive it. You know, they believe everyone, it all stems from this seeking and following your dreams. You know, if you have something you need, they want people to try to get it, right? They want people to go for it. That's the thing with this Knight of Swords energy. It's like, go for it. They really value people who go for it, you know, whether it's asking for help or like being honest or, you know, following your dreams, like asking for that energy, or asking for that energy that you resonate with and that you want and you desire. They really respect people who do that. Now, there's kind of a trifecta with this priest card, follow your dreams, healing the heart, and forgiveness over here. Forgiveness, interestingly enough, especially because it's a purple triangle and the blue in the background, I'm seeing this as more like the third eye chakra. I'm seeing them kind of having some like visions of like forgiving people, basically. But it's interesting. I see that in later life, they really start to value forgiveness, because on the flip side, even though they're so focused on following their dreams and getting other people to follow their dreams, and that's something they really value, later in life, they start to look back and realize that people in society they were never trying to harm them. They were never in they were never in an antagonistic relationship with them. And they start to see themselves and other people, other individuals, as like part of a larger whole. And so they really have this sense of forgiveness for the people in their life that kind of like hurt them or put them into a box, or, you know, kind of kept them who they were. You know, they have this sense of forgiveness for the cultures and the groups, because they see them as all just byproducts of something that happened in the past, right? Like, the fact that all these things cycle over and over again and creates these patterns in our lives, right? The fact is, like, they look back on those past things, and they are able to forgive all of those moments, right? And it just by doing that, it keeps them not lodged in the past, but focused on the future. With Follow Your Dreams, they're focused on the future, kind of like they're the forerunner of their own life, basically. And basically, by cutting these ties to their past, by forgiving people that have held them back, they're like letting go of resentment. Back to this Six of Swords energy, where they're kind of throwing swords off the boat. You know, they're kind of like, in a way, like throwing their resentment off the boat, you know? They believe that kind of like you shouldn't hold on to those things, you know? You should hold on to your vision, but you shouldn't hold on to kind of like resentment of the people who held you back, you know? And they start to believe that in later life, and that's something else that they really, really value. This, in turn, kind of heals their heart. It gets them back to that returning to stage 2, because we first saw this healing the heart card when they realized that they needed to follow their own dreams after their heartbreak, and they were healing their heart and doing that shadow work. They realize in later time with some more shadow work and kind of like they might get into like loving kindness meditation, something like that, when they're older, with healing the heart, and kind of like they really complete that step, right? Where they kind of like heal fully. They may have like thought they were healed, and it was enough to heal them for them to go on their mission, basically, and develop all the rest of their values. But when they go into later life, when they get into this forgiveness stage, that's when they really, truly, completely heal their heart, and they end their life with like a full, loving, beautiful, bountiful energy, kind of like the Ace of Cups, like overflowing, like a deep sense of self-love, self-satisfaction, pride in who they are, just amazing, like a healed heart, basically. Try to see if I see anything else. I think I got all of it. One other thing with the monkey here, I have to point this out. They might be good with animals, or they might have a pet animal that they talk to. But other than that, that's the end of the reading. I know, random little thing at the end. But yeah, so if you like that reading, feel free to like or comment below. If you really like this reading, feel free to subscribe to my channel. We're always welcoming new subscribers here at Cody Tarot. I really enjoyed reading for you. And that was the last reading of the day, or the last reading of the video, the pick a card. So I will see you guys. I'll bid you adieu, and I'll bid you farewell. Bid you adieu, bid you farewell. I think it's the same thing. Anyway, see you later, and see you in the next pick a card. Bye.